you're saying the significance of the arrival of ECOWAS in Mali in the context of the discontent that is already in place because of Mali's suspension, rather because of ECOWAS' suspension of Burkina Faso.
Yes. So by having ECOWAS come and send a delegation to Burkina Faso, ECOWAS is able to see what's happening on the ground from both the civilian perspective and the military perspective, as opposed to rushing into action and just imposing sanctions.
Now, people believe that ECOWAS actually no longer has the legitimacy to intervene in the Burkina Faso situation, considering, many are saying, the situation of failures in Mali.
Yes, so Mali's situation with ECOWAS's failings come from the resultant of how ECOWAS imposed sanctions, suspended Mali, then imposed sanctions, and then suspended Mali. And Malians themselves have seen this as aggressive action. In fact, the junta, the military transition, has been able to galvanize public support around itself from this, stating that ECOWAS is acting in the interest of foreign powers, France in particular.
Yeah, and how will then ECOWAS be able to win over the people of Burkina Faso? Will they be able to deal with the discontent on the ground, and what approach should they be taking?
So ECOWAS's current approach to the situation in Burkina Faso right now is we suspended you from ECOWAS, removing you from having a say in ECOWAS decision-making processes, as well as engaging in symbolic action of you're no longer a member of ECOWAS, we're reprimanding you. Now, by having this delegation, they're able to engage in dialogue with the different forces in Burkina Faso on the ground. Now, what ECOWAS can possibly hope for is a potential release in the long term of the former presidents of Burkina Faso. However, I do not see, and I do not think it's possible for Burkina Faso's military junta to fold and say we're going to return to civilian rule immediately because ECOWAS said so.
Yeah. The approach by ECOWAS seemingly is to focus on security. Now, does ECOWAS have an army that is able to respond to the terrorism and be able to eradicate the terrorism in Burkina Faso?
ECOWAS has a standing force that is active in the Sahel region. However, it's essential that ECOWAS maybe in the future moves towards having a better strategy towards how it approaches and deals with this regional insecurity in the Sahel. ECOWAS was originally made to engage and address economic issues, and now the scope of ECOWAS has evolved beyond that economic integration scope. And it's really important that ECOWAS is able to transition and move towards an understanding of itself as not just an economic union, but more of a union of the different countries on different issues and different matters.
Yeah, the immediate approach on Friday in particular was that they wanted to see, in fact, they demanded the release of Kabore, who is held under house arrest by the army at this particular point in time. Is that the correct stance to take immediately as they land in that country?
Well, if ECOWAS doesn't take that stance, ECOWAS will be viewed as weak and indecisive. ECOWAS taking that stance is part of ECOWAS maintaining to its brand and stating that it has an interest and believes that the way forward for the West African region is democratic governments as opposed to military governments.
Should it impose sanctions on Mali as well as on Burkina Faso?
I don't think sanctions are prudent right now. It's very important to realize that Mali and Burkina Faso are in two different stages of their coups. Mali, when sanctions were imposed, was 8 months into the situation. Burkina Faso, the coup has just happened. We don't know where things are going. Imposing sanctions on Burkina Faso now, after the whole Mali debacle, will simply serve to degrade ECOWAS's credibility.
And what if, of course, that is the suggestion that would come maybe from all the other partners. I believe also the UN is heading there and making its way as a way of putting pressure. What would be the result?
Sorry, please repeat.
I'm saying, what would be the result if that is the route that they choose to take, maybe on recommendation by other member states and by maybe even the UN that I believe is heading to Burkina Faso as well?
As I said previously, I do not think that sanctions at this point would be very prudent from ECOWAS on Burkina Faso, because it will give the junta, the Military Transitional Council, the ability to state that we're under attack, we're being bullied, and this is not. ECOWAS will further lose legitimacy if it were to impose heavy sanctions as it did in Mali. The sanctions imposed in Mali have not been effective. So ECOWAS has left the whole Mali situation with a bit of a bloody nose in terms of its capacity and effectiveness in addressing the situations when coups happen and returning to democracy.
Have they got an open door as they go in there? Is the military willing to engage with them, or are they engaging with them on a closed door kind of approach?
So these engagements will be behind closed doors. The military is willing to engage with international partners. The head of the Military Transitional Council has made it clear in an address that he's open to dialogue engagements on how to move towards a future civilian rule. He's also made clear that the military will be taking lead from the civilians. However, this presents the interesting question, right, of whether or not a coup can result in a return to democracy. And part of the reason that the situation in Burkina Faso occurred, the coup in Burkina Faso occurred, is because the civilian government was ineffective in addressing security concerns within the area with Al-Qaeda-aligned rebel militant organizations within the Sahel.
All right, Vincent, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for your analysis tonight. Research at Good Governance there. That's research. Vincent Orlu.